The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Bellingham, Washington, on your new fire apparatus, job number 33852. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Let's start down on the passenger side. In the notch in the front bumper face, you'll find your front inlet. Moving just inside of that location, you'll find dual air horns. Located directly in the center, you'll find your siren and PA speaker system. Let's move up onto the top of the bumper extension, where you'll find 2 closed tow hooks on the passenger and driver side. There are also tubbed hose storage located in the front bumper extension. You'll find the first one directly in the center and the other just under the driver's side front windshield. This one does have an 1.5-inch swivel discharge located near it. Let's move up onto the cab of the vehicle, where you'll find your marker clearance light, turn signal, and headlight structure housing low and high beam headlights. Just up from that location, you'll find your forward-facing emergency warning lights. Let's move up onto the front windshield. You have a seamless one-piece windshield with 3 windshield wipers. Just outside is where you'll find your mirrors housing a convex and flat mirror. As we move from that location up to the brow of the apparatus, you'll find 5 running lights across the brow. Located over the passenger side, you'll find a downward oval mirror. Moving to the center, you'll find a forward-facing floodlight. And then as we move up on top of the roof, you'll find your emergency warning light bar. Let's take a few close-ups of the images that we just talked about. First, this is your front inlet. Moving now just to the right toward the driver's side, you'll find the hose storage location housing dry deck material inside and also a Velcro securing device. Moving to the driver's side, 1.5-inch swivel discharge. This is your front discharge. Let's take a look at the headlight structure housing low and high beam. The high beam is on the inside, low beam is on the outside. Let's move to the driver's side step wheel, where you'll find an air inlet and also an air outlet. There is also an air shutoff valve located in the center. It is a twist, not a pull. Let's move to the side, where you'll find your shoreline inlet. This is a 20-amp plug. As we move more toward the midsection of your apparatus, this is where you're going to find your cross lay, or referred to as the dead load. And then as we move just inside of that location, we do have a warning label here regarding entanglement hazard because of those hoses in that area. There is an upper and a lower section here for your dead lay. At the very top, you'll also find a grab strap for ease of pulling that downward. Let's talk a little bit about the pump area. First, let's start on the left with your pump intake. This is the master gauge. To the right, you'll find your master pump discharge gauge. In between the two of those, you're going to find your vacuum and pressure test gauge ports. They're currently plugged. Let's take a look in the upper right-hand corner, where you'll find your Pierce minimum operation maintenance placard. We'll come back to that in just a moment. We do have some panel lights below that. And then we also have a variety of switches from front floodlights, driver's side floodlights, passenger side floodlights, rear floodlights, driver's side alley lights, and passenger side alley lights. Those are all independently rockered switches, and they will illuminate when you activate them in the green indication. You also have an indication here regarding OK to pump, the green indicator indicating that you've properly engaged your pump. This is your minimum operation maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 psi. On the left-hand side is the associated GPM, and on the right-hand side are the associated RPMs for test pressures. You do have a governed speed of 2,400 RPMs. Let's move downward from this location. This is going to be a drain for your reel blowout. It's a twist, not a pull. Moving to the right, you'll find an engine cooler and also a recirculating line. Same thing, those are twist, not pull. Let's move downward from this location. As we move all the way to the left, the electronic valve controls your front inlet. And then we have all of your discharge gauges, which are clearly color-coded and labeled across the next line. Moving to the right, you'll find your tank fill. And then let's move just
slightly to the right, and we'll talk a little bit about the pressure throttle governor, and we'll come back to that in just a moment because we'll go through that in some detail. Just beneath that, you have an audible alarm. The audible alarm bezel on the outer edge does allow you to dampen the sound. To the left, we have a driver's 2.5-inch discharge and also a passenger side 2.5 discharge. There are 2 electronic valves located also down here. These are for the passenger side. And then let's also move to your intake relief valve. It is adjustable. There are instructions right on the placard. Your pump does have a thermal heater indicator. It also has an audible alarm. You do have the inlet. This is going to be the indication and also the crank to allow you to open and close. Down at the bottom, you'll find your primer for the front intake and also the fire pump. And we do have some warning labels here that you should not climb or ride on the side of your apparatus. As we move down further to the right, you'll find your tank to pump. And then as we move down, the blue tape here is indicating covering that inlet. This is your main inlet. We'll talk a little bit about what's behind this pan door in the next set of images. I've got some close-ups in that area, but first let's go back to the passenger side 5-inch discharge electronic valve and the deluge discharge. That's also an electronic valve. A couple close-ups here of that minimum operation maintenance schedule placard, and then we'll talk a little bit about your pressure throttle governor. If illuminated, it would be yellow. It's check engine. As we move to the center, it would be a digital readout for your RPMs. If illuminated, it would be in red. That would be a stop engine. Let's move down to the next set of indicators. These are gauges indicating engine, fuel, battery, and water temp. And to the right, you'll find also a thermal indicator here regarding your pump. As we move further down, you'll find your water tank level indicator. That's the blue module. And to the right, you'll find a red silence button allowing you to silence the audible alarm. And then as we move down, you'll find the orange menu button, which allows you to scroll through the various menu functions of your pressure throttle governor. There are 2 settings here, either pressure control or throttle control. Those are your 2 options. How you make that decision is based on control mode. That's how you'll select between the 2 of those. There's also a green throttle ready indicator. And if you choose, you can utilize the preset button, which is green, allowing you to preset pressures or throttle. Just beneath that, you'll find the throttle, turn right to increase, turn left to decrease, and then you'll also find an idle button directly in the center. In between, you'll also find a digital readout in between the pressure control and throttle control. Let's move now. This is the placard regarding your Watrous. It is a 1500 GPM pump. You also have some drains located here, which are color-coded and labeled. As we move to the right, we do have a pressure hazard warning. The caps may be under pressure and be cautious when opening them. You'll also find your pump drain, and then just beneath that, your manual pump shift. All right, let's move just to the left of this location. We'll cover some of the items here. First, starting with this warning label, indicating that only trained personnel should operate this equipment only after they've received proper training. Just beneath that, you'll find the driver's side auxiliary inlet. This is a 2.5-inch female inlet. And then on the left, you'll find all your associated and color-coded drains. Let's move just under the pump area where you'll find your reel rewind. This is a foot pedal. As we move back to the top of the apparatus, this is the hose bed. You'll notice these yellow reflective diamonds. That's indicating the walking surface for firefighter safety. You'll also find that there are compartments on the top also. 2 on the right side and 2 on the left side. Those compartments do have LED lighting inside. As we look now to the dunnage area, toward the very front is where we'll talk about next. This is what's going to house your top fill location for your water fill. That's the top of your water tank. This area is referred to as the dunnage. Moving forward, this is your master stream device, and there is an extendable device mechanism on this master stream device. We do have a red line or a booster line located also on the top. There is a tensioning screw on the right and also a manual location for reel rewind. You'll also find this protective cover covering the Acron valve at the very top. This allows you to turn on or off your master stream device. As we move to the cab itself, you'll find a non-walking surface. That's why we have these warning labels here. And now we're going to move through the rest of the compartments on the body. And we'll go through those rather fast. Just a quick indication at the very top, you've got some emergency warning lights and then also some side-facing scene lights. As we move through the compartments, you'll find LED lighting inside those compartments and also dry deck material on the shelves. Down in the lower compartment here, you'll find a pull-out tray. The release mechanism is on the lower right. As we move just in front of the rear axle, you'll find your blue DEF fill location, 2 SCBA bottles above that with retaining straps, and also a gauge indicating the level of DEF fluid. As we move over the rear tire, you'll find an adjustable shelf and also dry deck material. To the rear, you'll find SCBA bottle storage and also your ultra-low sulfur diesel fuel fill cap. That's going to be silver. As we move to the rear, you'll find SCBA mounts and also a shelving. Down at the lower section, you'll find a diamond plate flooring area. And let's move back up to the shelving area, also one in the front and one to the rear. Let's move to the rear of the apparatus. Let's start first with the emergency light, brake light, turn, and reverse lights. You also have some fold-down steps and also some warning labels here. One, pressurized hazard, and also additional warnings here regarding not riding on the rear of the apparatus. You do have 2 cup switches on the driver's side. We'll go over those in just a moment. Moving up onto the passenger side rear is where you're going to find your ground ladder storage behind the pan door. As we move to the left, you'll find the rear scene lights and hose bed lights. Those are momentary switches. And then across the very bottom, you're going to find all of your pre-connected lines for discharge. You'll also find, as we move across in the center, you'll find your backup camera and then also another passenger side rear 2.5-inch discharge. Just a quick look at the hose bed layout. You'll find all of your speed loads located in the lower section. In the very top section, you'll find long backboard storage area. And then as we move back down to the very bottom, you'll find that backup camera. And then also in the lower section, once you've opened the doors, you'll find a rollout tray at the very bottom section. Let's go back up to the ladder section where you have a 24-foot extension ladder and a 14-foot roof, some pike poles, and also a 10-foot folding ladder. In the upper left and right-hand side, you're going to find your hose storage location for your suction hoses. Now let's go ahead and move to the passenger side of the vehicle. Similar configuration as the driver's side, but we'll go through those items here next. First, starting at the top, you'll find emergency warning lights and then also a side-facing scene light. As we move to the next compartment forward, you'll find adjustable shelving, LED lighting, and dry deck material. Let's go ahead and move just forward of this location. Just behind the rear wheel is where you're going to find SCBA bottle storage location here. Moving to the center compartment over the rear wheel, you'll find dry deck material, adjustable shelving. And just to the forward section of the front axle or the rear axle is where you'll find additional bottle storage location. I would like to point out at the very bottom a warning label regarding extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures. Be cautious as to where you park your vehicle. Let's move to the next compartment forward, adjustable shelving, dry deck material. In the lower section, we've got diamond plate at the very bottom. Let's move forward to the midsection of the pump where you'll find at the very top section you can access your booster line and then also a step area for gaining access to that location. We do have some additional warning labels here. This is a do not ride on the side of your apparatus for fear of fall. And there's also an entanglement warning hazard. As we move down, we'll also find a pressure hazard regarding pressurized caps and the associated hazards, once again, with those caps being under pressure. As we move forward, we'll identify your large diameter pump intake. Moving forward again, you're going to find your large diameter discharge, and then also a 2.5-inch discharge on this side. As we move down to the very bottom, you're going to find all your color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Just forward and up from this location is your cab lift. There is some warning labels here and also instructions to raise and then also instructions to lower. The switch is protected and the activate's on the right-hand side. Once again, lower section, these are your discharge drains. As we look just under this location also is where you'll find the reel rewind, and then also in the same vicinity you'll find your front inlet drain. Let's take a look what was behind the pan door. Kind of difficult to see in this image, but there is a label down low in this compartment. This is going to be for your front inlet override. Because of that being an electronic valved inlet. This is the override for that. As we look to the through compartment here for your cross lays, once again your dead load. As we look to the rear section of your apparatus, I'd like to point to the very rear of the engine is where your access panel is for your oil and also your transmission. Just a general view here inside the cab, you can see there are 2 fold down seats on the very back wall, in addition with compartmentation in the center section. Overhead intercom system. As we look forward, you'll find additional compartment storage overhead area, in addition with your air conditioning unit. As we look to the doors of all entry points, you'll find these warning labels affixed. You're also going to find in the officer's area, you're going to find your windshield wiper fill location, and then also you'll find a parking brake located at the very top. This vehicle is equipped with a supplemental restraint system airbag, so please don't mount anything within that area. Looking overhead here, we'll identify the next set of items. As you can see in the very center, you have push on and off white and red lights, and also your intercom system hooks and hangers. Let's go ahead and look forward in the officer seat, where you'll find the front flood, driver's side flood, passenger side flood, and rear flood. You also have your driver's side alley lights, future switch location, a siren brake for your mechanical siren, which is located in the front bumper, and also your passenger side alley lights. As we move next, you'll find your Firecom intercom system module located on the officer side, and also the wireless system just underneath that location. As we move just slightly to the left, you're going to find your siren and also PA speaker system. Let's move back to the dash, where you're going to find a air horn push button and also a 12-volt USB style outlet. Moving now to the door on the driver's side, we're going to find all of these labels affixed regarding warnings, in addition with your auto charge system at about the left ankle of the operator. When plugged into shore power, that will become activated. You do have electronic windows located on the upper section. Also, you'll find your Pierce placard for the city of Bellingham. This has the date of manufacture, job number, which is that 5-digit number, gross vehicle weight rating, your VIN number, all of your fluid capacities for components, fluid capacity, and also fluid types. As we move back down to the floor, you'll find your mechanical siren foot pedal just next to the brake treadle. Let's move now up to about the left knee for the operator. This is your master battery switch, a quarter turn. To the right, you'll find the tech module. In green, you're going to find the engine, transmission, ABS diagnostic port. Down the next set of switches, you're going to find ABS diagnostics, DPF regen, engine diagnostic indicator, and regen inhibit, and then also your display port. Cabs locked, not engaged, siren brake, and load manager. To the right, you're going to find on the opposite side of the column your pump shift. You require 2 green indicators lit prior to exiting the cab for pump operations. The instructions from road to pump on the left-hand side, and then from pump to road are on the right-hand side. As we move further to the right, you'll find your mirror control for your flat mirror and also your convex mirror. As we move now up to the dash area on the left-hand side of the column, you'll find your ignition and start switch. Just inside of that location, you'll find EM, which stands for Emergency Master. This will engage on and off all of your emergency master lights. Also to the right, you'll find your headlight switch, and also to the right, a panel rocker switch, which allows you to brighten or dim the panel lights within the gauge area. To the right of the column, you'll find your OK to engage the high idle. In the center, you're going to find the transmission, oil, DEF, and water. On the right side, you're going to find your volts, fuel, front air, and rear air. In the center, you'll find your speedometer, tachometer. Informational diagnostic information will display above and below the speedometer. As we move to the right, just a quick look here, we'll identify those items next. Let's first start with the yellow diamond, your system parking brake. Pull to apply and push to release. As I move to the right, this is your Allison transmission pad. There is an indication here to pump in drive. Let's move up to the next set of switches here, where we'll find your engine brake on and off, a settings switch for low, medium, and high for that engine brake, an auto start, tire change, which is a protected switch, diff lock, and also mirror heat. Let's move slightly to the right, where you're going to find your climate control. You have heating and air conditioning, and also defrost. Let's move overhead now of the operator, where you're going to find this placard regarding the height, 10 feet 2 inches, your length 30 feet 4 inches, gross vehicle weight rating 42,000 pounds. If you make any changes to this placard or any adjustments, please update this placard to reflect. Let's move to the right where we have a set of switches where we'll find your emergency master in red, roof light, front warning, side warning. The next section down, we're going to find lower rear warning, upper rear warning, a high beam flash, and then also your Opticom switch. Let's move just to the right to the next set of switches where we're going to start with your front flood, driver's side flood, passenger side flood, and rear flood. Next level down, you're going to have the rear flash, driver's side alley lights, passenger side alley lights, and then a backup alarm override, which disables your backup alarm. Moving to the right, you'll find your traffic advisor and settings for low, off, or high, split, flash, right and left. Just a quick view here of the rear section, looking from the driver's area to the rear section. Congratulations, Bellingham, Washington, on your new fire apparatus, job number 33852. If you have any questions regarding this video or any questions regarding your apparatus, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.